Greetings all, I'm that rather posh bloke that you may have heard before, and this, as the title suggests, is going to be a analytical look at the Golden Fleece with Medusa Head Kratos figure for God of War 2, which you can get, and clearly I own. Yes, but before that, I'd like to do something scary. Yeah, see? Both hands, because I have found something to put the camera on this time. So, not only am I now ambidextrous in a way, there's no more shaking and all that, and you may not be able to tell as easily when I put in a jump cut, because I'm quite the stuttering person. Yes. Okay then, we're back on subject. I love God of War loads, you know. Particularly the first one, which you can see here, is one of my favourite games ever made. It's just spectacular and hilarious and tons of fun. And I've got the other two main ones here, right down there, and almost as good. And I haven't actually played the PSP ones, which I hate myself for, but it's only because of my not having a PSP. But one day I will, and finally they will be mine. But in the meantime, this is the important thing, I bought myself a Kratos, and it arrived about a week ago from Australia, of all places. Don't know what it was doing there, but yes, especially since, as we'll see in a moment, it was made in China, so they sent it to China, then they sent it to Australia, and then someone sent it here to England, where I'm living, in case you hadn't guessed by my incredibly blatant accent. Thanks for that. But, yes. Shall we have a look at him? Okay, well here he is, you know, he's got his whatnots and his... Oh, you can't actually see it, but here's the... And I've already dropped him, we're off to a great start. His sword's come off, which, by the way, that's a complaint I have, but we'll get to that in a bit. I won't bother putting it back on. You see, here's the head, and you might not have seen that, but we'll get to that. First off, look at him, he's lovely. He's all like that, he's nicely painted, and all that junk, and it's clearly Kratos. If you look at his face, it's clearly Kratos. He's not Kratos' inbred twin or anything, you know. How could he be inbred but not Kratos? I don't know, but anyway. Yes, and he's got his manly skirt there, see, only real men wear skirts. And he's got his golden fleece, yes. And I'd like to point out something right now, okay? I thought this just really bothered me. Okay, this is God of War 2 merchandise, technically, right? So it makes sense that he has the golden fleece, right? Okay, fair enough. But then, how can he have Medusa's head? Okay, because he had Medusa's head in the first game, and then in the second game he found another Gorgon, I think it was her sister or something, and he tore off her head and started using it in a similar way. But it clearly says on the packaging that this is Medusa's head, so this is something of an anachronism, I think that's the right word, yes. It's like, can't you see someone with a digital watch in Titanic or something? It's like that, kind of. I can't remember what the sister's name is, I don't know. There you are. And these are also, these blades, they're the blades of Athena, I believe, which makes sense, because that's what he has in the second game. Not the blades of thingy. I probably should have pointed out with that whole head ripping thing, there may be minor spoilers, but if you haven't played these games, I have no respect for you, because, as mentioned, they are stupidly good. So go and buy those, especially this first one over there. I'll chuck the sword at it, there you go. Do that. Okay. Right, but getting back to it, here he is. I think I'll have him do a little, you know, macho twirl for you. Ooh, he's twirling. Look at him, look at him, look at him. Yes, indeed. In terms of technical whatnot, my only complaint in terms of the paintwork is you can see a few random splotches of green here and there, which, I don't know, maybe he just had a cold or something, but it looks a bit silly. Okay. You know. But, you know, considering the stupid amount of work I'd imagine goes into this, a few random green blotches are not going to detract from the experience overall, really, if you think about it. Let's get on with it. Okay, now, the Medusa Head I say Medusa. Yes. And by the way, I can also establish Medusa. She is a Gorgon. She is one of the race of Gorgons. I believe she's quite a special Gorgon. In fact, the first game calls her Queen of the Gorgons, I believe. But she is not... Medusa is her name, not her race. The race is Gorgons. Medusa is just one particular Gorgon. They are not called Medusas. That's a common mistake a lot of people seem to make. I don't know what that's about. Do you know nothing about Greek mythology? I don't even know anything much other than the basics, and I know that they're called Gorgons. Jesus. Yes. Now that I've got that out of the way. I ramble a lot, have you noticed? Yes. Hands. What was I talking about? Ah, yes. If you look at the back of the head, there's actually one of Kratos' hands in there. And what you're supposed to be able to do is pull off one of his hands, I think the right one, and plug this in, and it's like he's holding her head, which is quite cool. But I don't want to do that because I'm horribly afraid I'll break it. Plus I just kind of like him having the blaze. I just knocked the lamp, by the way, well done. That's the kind of technical quality and competence and magic you get here with some bloke. Yes. Anyway, but what's it? But I do have a complaint. What's it? I hate any figure which comes with bits which they don't all attach on at once. Because then you are inevitably, without question, at some point going to lose whichever ones are not connected. Okay, so you can either have the head or a sword. So you're either going to lose a sword or the head. Okay, and my solution to this is I think I'm going to just sellotape the head onto his back or something. Or maybe on here, because he magically pulls it out of his pocket in the game, which I always find endlessly amusing. He rips off this writhing, screaming monster head and then sticks it in his pocket. And it's still kind of alive, because you can see the snakes writhing about. So it's like... That's Kratos, yes. You gotta love him. But, indeed... Anyway, I'm going to try and put this back in. Which, by the way, is my... This is actually coming across as a fairly negative review, but I do have another complaint. Is that, particularly this one, the left hand for some reason, the swords do not like to stay in. If you look over here, I just had the foresight to bring my Cain figure over. His sword is hard to get in there, but once it's in, it has never fallen out ever. Of course, it's also incredibly long and pointy. I will probably have my eye out one day, but that's beside the point. Now, if we look back over here, his are easy to get in, but then fall out as soon as he falls over, which happens a lot, because every action figure in history, even though he has a nice little stand, if you look, every action figure ever made falls over as soon as you sneeze on it, yes. So, in fact, he's actually leaning over at a dangerous angle, I just noticed. Indeed, this is turning out to be a particularly rambly review video thing. Oh, I can't get him to stand up now. Stay. Okay. Now, yes. I'm just thinking, what else? Yes. I was saying his face looks more like Kratos than it might have. You can't really see it. I'll try and zoom it in. Look at it. Yes. But if you look at Cain, his face does not actually look hugely like Cain. So they got that better. I think this is by the same people or something. Yes. Now then, where are we going next? Yes. If you look under his foot, it says all loads of stuff. But I was clever enough to do it in advance, and I have written down what it says, if you'll listen. It says copyright SCEAI, which is probably Sony something or other. NECA 2007. That is the same company who made the Cain over there, so good. And it also says made in China. How original. Yes, so I won't need to pick him up and fiddle about and be all awkward like I did with the Cain one. So you see, I'm getting better. I'm doing my preparation beforehand now. Yes. Something that perhaps I should have mentioned about 10 minutes ago. You know this thing that I put the camera on so that I can do this, and I just knocked the lamp again. Yes, well, it's actually a triple box set of A-Team videos, which is probably the single most awesome thing I could have picked. I don't know if you'd care about that, but I do. Because the A-Team is something else you should run out and buy, so don't do that. I mean the A-Team show, not the movie, which is just okay, I suppose, not bad, certainly. It didn't insult my soul like Highlander 2 did, so okay. Yes, and by insult I mean rape. Let's move on. Yes. Okay, right. Yeah, could have been a bit less harsh there, I think. Well, you know, brash. Yes. Moving on. Yep. If you're wondering why I got the Golden Fleece Kratos and not one of the others you can get through all God of War 2 stuff, you can find them on eBay quite easily. Yes, it is actually the more expensive one by a few quid too. But if you're wondering why I got this one, it's because I wanted one which was like the classic Kratos kind of look, you know, just like he is in number 1. And the only real difference is the Golden Fleece, which I think it looks quite stylish anyway, so yes. But if you didn't want this one, you can get one, I don't know their names, but there's one where he has the, you know, Ares God of War armor on, which looks quite nice, and here's this big seller. He has a giant blade of Olympus with him, which you could probably use as a letter opener, like Kane's Soul Reaver may be able to use as a letter opener. Yeah, this is the little camera tassel-y thing, which I didn't mean you to see. Hello, say hello, yeah. He enjoyed his guest appearance there. Once again, I point out my own stupidity and foolishness, yes. But there you are. Now, other versions of him you can get which are less good. I think there's something called the Dark Odyssey Kratos, which is literally him, but like all dark and black. And by black I mean actual black as night black, not because if you know, Kratos was originally black and then spoiler, yes. But I'm talking, you know, as black as a chalkboard black, and it's like called the Dark Odyssey, and I think that's, I don't know what that's about actually. Yeah, I have a theory, but it's kind of a spoiler, so I'm not going to mention it, but I know what that's about, and it's a bit rubbish, and why would you get that instead of this? And there's also something called the Poseidon's Rage, I believe, Kratos, which is him all blue with like an oceany effect, and again, why would you want that? Unless, I think they just make these things knowing that collectors will buy them all, no matter how stupid and pointless they are. But, you know, me, a rational person, a human being with brains and a limited-sized wallet, I went with this one, because, you know, yes, it looks nice, and he has his strangely yellow blades, and, yes, and he only appears to be wearing one shoulder, shin pad, yes, this is a shoulder, that's a shin, yes. Apparently he doesn't play a lot of football, but oh well, and I mean proper football, you know, soccer, yes. Anyway, yes, that's out of the way, indeed. I'm now going to try and do that thing that I did in my Total Recall thingy review video, waste of time thing, where I try and show you my God of War 3 poster, which I have, just because they didn't have any other game, but you know, they didn't have one for number 1 or 2 or any of that, so I got number 3, I settled. Yes, I'm going to try and show you that now using my infinite technical skill. Boom! You should have seen it just then. I hope you did, otherwise I'll look particularly foolish. Okay, yes. Well, I'm pretty much winding up now, you know, coming to a close. This is the beginning of the end, yes. But there is one thing. If you're already considering getting one of these things, and, you know, my humble opinion has, you know, convinced you slightly more, then I should warn you, because I did do some checking, and this is definitely, he just fell over, yes, he's definitely real from what I can figure out, but there are some copies going around, some fake, cheaply produced copies, because you get those with these kinds of things, and people have made entire videos about the warning signs, so you can go and look at those. Just search Kratos Golden Fleece, it'll come up. So if you're looking to buy one of these, be sure you don't get a fake, because it'll cost just as much and fall apart as soon as you pick it up. Even more than he does with his swords, yes. And on that note, I'd like to point out that though I do have quite a few complaints about this, none of them really matter hugely because, you know, like I said, I'm going to try and sell-tape this onto him at some point. Yes, and, you know, and the whole falling over problem isn't really that bad because he's supposed to just, you know, sit on your shelf and look pretty and not... You're not supposed to... I've been playing with him a lot more than I really should just because I'm really immature. Which is kind of evidenced by the fact that I own a Kratos in the first place, but yes. Also, it just occurred to me, if you put the Medusa head here, it kind of looks like she's staring up his skirt in horror, which is quite funny. But she's very naughty. Well, he ripped her head off. I think she's entitled to be a bit naughty, yes. I'm rambling even more than usual now, which probably means I've run out of things to say. Yes. Go and buy one of these if it looks like something you'd enjoy. I love it lots, just like I love my cane lots and all that, and yes, just like I love my giant Dalek, which won't fit in the shot, but can, yeah, believe me, I have it. And yes, I think as a final note I should point out that no, your fears are unfounded. I have not forgotten to include the true star of this video series. Who's that, you ask? Well, I'll show you. It's the sombrero. Yes, even I think that joke is beginning to get a bit pointless now, but it's funny. Yes. Okay then, well, go forth and purchase a Krytos and yes, and just nail him to the floor so he doesn't fall over and glue his hands shut, and yes. Okay then, well, here comes the amusing credit sequence. Bye bye! The gods of Olympus have abandoned me. Now there is no hope. Pretentious narration as Kratos falls to his doom after 10 years of blabbity blabbity. But it was not always like this. Mangy beasts, I will send you back to the depths of Hades. Sometimes I forget I'm 18. By the gods, what have I become? Dead. 10 years, Athena. I have faithfully served the gods for 10 years. When will you relieve me of these nightmares? Rubber baby buggy bumpers.